Friends, welcome back to Unbuckling the Bible Belt. This is episode number 66, and boy, do we have a treat for you. This is Adam Fusion leading off, and I got my great co-host, the sexiest bitches from the South, and one from just north of the Mason-Dixon line, Sharon and Kate.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Tonight, we're going to talk about a little bit about some special shit up in Kentucky. About a big goddamn boat that's pretty much fucking useless.
We're famous. We're
finally
famous for more than just inbreeding.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of inbreeding going on the Ark.
Hey, it's just highlighting that fact.
Now, wait a minute. Me being from Tennessee, I will step back and say that Kentucky does offer some very fine whiskey and some good pot.
And that's probably because of the inbreeding.
Yes.
You know, this is probably true, too.
And we also have a very, very bad heroin problem.
Well, that's not good.
We're going upscale, bitches. We're going to heroin.
Lovely stuff. So that's what we're getting into tonight. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation maybe outside of this about Dallas and all the fucked up shit that's going on there. And y'all just hang tight, folks.
Well, don't forget about our special friend, Dan Arel.
Oh, damn it. I forget Dan. It's the glasses.
Yeah.
They're so sexy.
What's that song about eyes? What is it? Smoky Eyes is the song?
I don't know.
There's a song about eyes, and it's like a sexy song about eyes. You just forget everything.
I guess Dan worked his magic on Adam there.
Apparently. Yeah. Dan's going to be highlighting the Ark Encounter protest tonight for us. Yeah. Joe sat down with him because that's who's missing. Joe Dick. He's not here tonight.
He had to work. Isn't that lame?
No, it's not fair because he hogged all the fun talking to Dan last night.
I know.
Yeah. And we interviewed, we interviewed Dan a long time ago, and Dan's great. He really keeps everybody informed with what's going on in the Ark. You can find his page and Pathos on, Danthropology?
Danthropology.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
There's a ton of other really, really important people there. We had Aaron Ross showed up. We had David Silverman. We had some dipshits too that came there. We got Adam Collins. He showed up.
The dippiest of the
Matt
shits.
Kovacs was there.
Yeah. And we also, we did have, I will say guys, I had a confirmation for a podcast visit from everybody's famous up-and-coming apologist, Eric Hovind. And when he realized he wasn't going to be camera whoring for Christ with me live at the Ark Encounter, he immediately backpedaled. So give that man a bench, everybody.
Now, if you're curious about this, the Friendly Atheist also covered pretty much everything that was in the damn boat.
Oh, God, she's adorable.
Tracy Moody rolled around with her camera and just took it over. So if you're curious about what's in the damn boat, behind the boat, around the boat, go into Friendly Atheist, and you can check it out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So let's get this bitch a-moving. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan.
Yep, that's right. Let's get it on, and you're fixing to have Joe Dick, no show up for the show whatsoever, interview Dan Arel.
God, this bus hit a lot of bumps.
I gotta give him shit, man. I love you, brother. I know you're busy with a baby and working, man.
All right, let's do it. See you in a few.
Let's go.
So I'll tell you what, it was a very interesting time out at Ken Ham's new quote-unquote encounter. That Ark Encounter that was opened up, I think it was on a Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the 7th. Wasn't it the 7th?
It was the 7th. The 7th day of the 7th month. I'm sure that's some type of tied into prophecy somewhere. But
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had like it wasn't really to the public on the 7th. Friday, I believe, was to the general public. But he had, like, special fanfare on Thursday. I'm not quite sure. Needless to say, there weren't a lot of fans to pay the fare from what I've seen so far. Thanks to video from our good friend Adam Collins with Adam and Atheism, and Tracy Moody, of course, with the better half of Friendly Atheist.
Yes.
Oh my God, she was running everywhere. Shenanigans.
Everywhere. Yeah, it was great. She even covered the damn pet farm in the back. So if anybody wants to go see what the hell it's all about, just go to the Friendly Atheist, follow Tracy Moody's videos, probably on YouTube as well.
Oh, all over she even made Raw Story.
Oh, she did?
But that was because Eric Hovind wanted to kind of camera whore with Aaron Raw.
Right.
I have a question. I saw a lot of signs. I've watched a lot of art park videos and pictures, and signs. Art.
I know. I couldn't help it.
There were signs that said, "Do you believe in Zeus? Do you believe in Spider-Man?" I guess the point was, do you believe in God at the end?
No, actually, those were signs posted by Eric Hovind to make fun of the fact that Freethinkers were protesting the Ark Park, which had nothing to do... I guess his attitude was, well, you don't go out and protest Spider-Man and everything, but the thing is that the stuff's being perpetuated as science. He's completely oversimplifying and misrepresenting the argument, which is typical Eric Hovind. Like I said, I was supposed to have him on the show this week, and when he realized I wasn't going to physically be at the Ark Encounter protest due to work and whatnot, he immediately backed out. If he's not part of our Lord Christ Martyrs production network, then he doesn't want anything to do with you. He served Chick-fil-A and Gatorade, and it's like hashtag Chickengate at this point, because everybody's asking, did you eat the chicken? I don't think it really matters, in my opinion, as far as that goes, other than how long was the chicken sandwiches sitting out in the hot sun that day. And
I know. Well, Chick-fil-A's good. I know this is beside the point about using coolers, so maybe it wasn't like salmonella poisoning waiting to happen.
I did catch in where a few minutes of the debate between him and Aaron Raw is about the creationism. And it was weird to see them debating out in the field outside of the, off the interstate there. It's kind of weird for Aaron to see him up there like that. But yeah, it was pretty neat. Tracy covered some of that as well.
Yeah, and that was the part that made Raw Story, which I was kind of sad to see. I wish they would have covered some of Tracy's other footage, like in the park, or conversations with Bill Nye and, Aaron and some other people, and not give press time to Hovind's campaign of "Look at Me."
Now, Bill Nye didn't show up till
Friday.
Friday. Okay.
Yeah, and she ran around the Ark again with Bill Nye, and it was really cool. And of course, we all know David Silverman was there, president of American Atheists.
Yeah.
And somebody very special, like we mentioned at the top of the show, Dan Arel was in town. They did a fundraiser, a GoFundMe, and boy, he got here quick. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize they had done a GoFundMe for that.
Yeah, they helped him get here. They helped him get up here. Because, Joe and I discussed last episode, this story has probably encompassed a large majority of what Dan's written about over the last
right. Yeah, he's covered him in depth pretty well. Yeah, in fact, he's done pretty much 90% of the coverage of it. Tracy came up with a really badass revelation about the facts of the county taxes going into paying for this as well last year, and they both just done a great job. I love them both.
Oh, yeah. And she came up with a really good hashtag. Oh, Noah, he didn't.
Oh, Noah, he didn't.
Yes. I thought that was awesome. I agree. I think hers should have been like a national hashtag. But it didn't get that kind of coverage because, in the ultimate, I think the biggest lesson learned from this, nobody really gives a fuck about this Ark Park.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. From everything that I've seen posted online, I wish I could have been there, but I couldn't. It looks like plastic playthings. Nothing I saw struck me as, wow, this is real. This is a realistic representation. Especially the dinosaur cages.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's a goddamn upgraded Chuck E. Cheese, for fuck's sake.
That's exactly what it was.
My argument is you could walk into the creation facility and pretty much see the same thing in the Ark Encounter.
Right.
It's pretty much the same goddamn story. I'm just like, because he focuses on that in the damn Creation Museum. It's a huge part of the Creation Museum is the Noah's Ark story.
Yeah, but I do want to go in here and say this. Outside of there seems to be no interest in this, Sharon, as much as I don't want to ruffle your goddamn feathers around here around Nashville. Everybody seems pretty stoked about this damn boat being open up there.
But will they pay $40 to get in and look at it?
Well, you know, here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to have a big rush over the first 2 years, and then there's not going to be other interested drawn to it. And unless they start putting roller coasters around this goddamn thing, they're just not going to draw any more interest into it.
They hardly drew any interest to begin with. Opening day, it was not crapped full of people.
Oh, yeah. I was very happy seeing all the videos on the first opening day.
I mean, the line, there was no line, no wait,
yeah.
really. That's horrible, Kentucky. I know.
Oh, no, it's not just Kentucky. That's horrible Christians. Congratulations, you motherfuckers. You spent $100 million on a boat instead of using it to actually helping people. It's another money-grabbing scheme by another money-grabbing asshole.
Yeah, a boat that doesn't even float. And they even had numbers done. And I forget which news source I saw this at. I think it was HuffPost. But a person could have a 2-car garage home in 2 cars in Kentucky with the amount of money they spent on this.
It's ridiculous. And here's the thing about Eastern Kentucky. It is right up there with Western Virginia. It's big coal mining country. It's big mountaintop removals just to get the coal out of there. And because coal has taken such a landslide, a ton of those people have lost their jobs. They're living off the welfare corporation bullshit and food stamps and whatnot. And instead of investing that money into getting jobs into Eastern Kentucky, they decided to put even taxpayer dollars into this goddamn boat.
Payroll taxes.
Yeah, and county taxes.
What I don't understand is, I never thought of the Adam and Eve story as a sexy story, but the Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel were very sexy. They were very well built, smoldering, sexy in all the posters. I mean, what are they trying to do there? What audience are they trying to capture with that?
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, but at the same time, that's your exact proof why this is such fucking bullshit. Okay, here's your hypothesis put down from a Middle Eastern religion. Okay, a guy from the sky came down and made Adam and Eve, who had 2 sons. Okay, take all the time you need about that with that. I know it's complex. Man and woman created 2 sons, and that's where we all came from. Just take a few minutes and wrap your heads around that. I know that's difficult for some people.
Well, I think it's generally agreed upon, as I recall, that the sons, I think the Bible even does state, they got wives from other towns. Adam and Eve didn't populate those towns.
No. Somewhere out of nowhere, I've read the damn story. Outside of that, for some reason, maybe some other god created these other cities with people in it, because that god damn sure didn't do a good damn job.
Well, no, he didn't create them. I mean, God doesn't deny that there aren't other gods, but they're false gods. That's the only difference. So, as far as I'm concerned, Zeus can be real. So can Shiva and Kali.
Isis and Osiris.
Kuan Yin could be real. Yeah, all of them can be real because they're false gods. It doesn't mean they don't have any power or authority. That means, yes, folks, Odin can be real because there are no fucking ice giants. Just saying. Okay? But anyway, that's exactly the point, is just how ridiculous this whole thing is. And I found that I don't know what lesson they're going to take away from this, especially, my compatriots with Tri-State Freethinkers. They were out there. They organized this. Jim Helton, Tony Arnold, that's their main PR guy. He was running around like a crazy man for hours that morning. I'm hoping that folks that encountered this took away the fact that we aren't so much making fun of you if you're listening and you're a believer. We really are not making fun of you. We're just trying to point out that this is irrational, it's discriminatory, and this is not fair to be teaching a science.
No, well, it's anti-information. I mean, they got goddamn dinosaurs riding around with fucking kids on the inside. That and the Creation Museum. I mean, and that's harmful to teach kids misinformation. All the way from Santa Claus to the Easter Bunny to the Tooth Fairy. It goes on down the damn road.
There was not one window on that boat that I could see. If it's supposed to be an actual representation of what Noah really was plopping around out there in the sea, all the methane that would have been generated from all those animals would have killed every animal and person in there.
Hey kids, let's go to the Ark Park and play clean the poop chute.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. By the time the water covered the highest of mountaintops, nobody or creature would have been able to fucking breathe.
I know. No, because we all know the mountains weren't higher than like a couple feet at the time, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
of
God.
course, that's got to be it. It was just a sand dune, really.
We're not talking Mount Kilimanjaro.
Hey, I'm just happy the Chinese, the Incans, the American natives survived all that shit.
We're going to roll right on into Joe and Dan's discussion about the Ark Encounter, what it was like, the money involved, if it's worth it, does he think it's going to really pay off in the long run. Stay tuned, folks. It is coming up right now.
Oh.
All right, this is Joe Kindick. Got the man who really doesn't need any introduction on this show. He was in episode 20. The man, the myth, the legend, Danthropology author, Dan Arel. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. So the Ark Park opened and you were there. How was it?
Kind of slow. Didn't seem to have a lot of visitors the first day.
Well, it was a Thursday.
It was. It was.
I would give him that much. It was a Thursday, so I expect the weekend it probably would have been better.
Not from what I've been told from the folks that are still there. They've been stopping by and kind of paying attention, and it hasn't been very busy. But they announced it was going to be huge, and even though it was a Thursday, they planned it around other big events happening, so people would be there, and they still were not able to gain traction.
Wah, wah, wah.
But yeah, it was the protest was really, really good. It was very well organized, and the media hype around it was massive.
Yeah, I saw some clips. I know Eric Hovind was there. I saw Aaron Ross smack him down a little bit. That was nice.
Yeah, Eric Hovind showed up with probably 8 or so of his minions, and they put signs all up over the grass trying to take focus away from us. And then they just tried to engage anybody they could. They were trying to avoid people like Aaron and David Silverman, because they wanted to grab those people that they could make look like idiots on YouTube later. So they wanted to find people that just, weren't versed in debating evolution, so that you could get a lot of ums and long pauses, because you know how they draw those out. So
right.
They were looking for that, but Aaron got right in there, and Silverman and myself had declined because we knew their tactics, but apparently they pushed Silverman's buttons enough that he jumped in there, and he laid into Eric pretty well.
Yeah, he's a fiery individual.
Yeah. Once you get him going, you can't stop him.
I would have liked to have gone, but it's not that far from here, being in Nashville. But actually, on my way back into town today, I saw an ad for the Creation Museum, and it had a pterodactyl flying through the like. I was just like, man, shut up.
Yeah, they were. When I called to book my hotel, I was on hold, and they were advertising the Creation Museum as close by as a reason to book that hotel.
Well, you got to have something, I guess. Did you actually get? I know that Eric bought a bunch of people tickets to go in. Did you go in?
I did not. I would have if I was have known that he was bringing so many people, but I did not get to go in with Eric. While he was gathering all those people, I was actually debating one of his buddies that came out, who was trying to claim that the tax incentives had nothing to do with discrimination, and there was no discrimination happening. And that debate aired tonight on Dogma Debate.
Oh, sweet.
So
I'll check that out.
Yeah, people want to check that out. They can catch some guy named Jacob. He claimed he was a constitutional professor who, after talking to him for 3 minutes, I realized I knew more about the Constitution than he did. And so I Googled him, and he works for some weird religious nonprofit that you pay like $400 and you can download YouTube videos of them telling you about the Constitution and the Bible.
Oh, I'm in the wrong
Yeah,
field.
right.
Damn it. Damn me and my morals or lack thereof. Did you get to see Ken Ham at all, or was he out
no.
about?
I sent lots of messages to Ken inviting him to come down to the debate, but he decided not to.
I saw that he had Bill Nye walking around with him.
Yeah, Bill Nye went on Friday and went through, and I just read a Washington Post article about that, and apparently Bill debated him through the entire thing. And all Ken Ham said was that at one point he stopped in front of a big crowd and just started praying for Bill.
Oh, you gotta love it. Oh my gosh. That's all you have. I mean, that's your last resort. That's basically the defense.
Yeah, I think he thought it would look good in front of a big crowd.
Totally.
So he's really good at marketing and raising money, apparently.
Yeah. What a jerk face. Part of me really wants to go see it, but I'm sure as hell not giving any money.
That's the thing. It's
to them
$40 to get into the thing.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No,
and so like people were like, "Hey, let's go up there and see it." And I was like, "I'm not giving that guy $40 to see a landlocked boat in the middle of the field
that won't float."
Yeah, you can't even see it from the street. It's so far back in the woods.
I thought I'd read somewhere, I heard you talk about it. Don't the people that work there have to pay like 2% of their paycheck to help pay for it?
Everyone that works there has an additional 2.5% tax taken out of their check to pay back the land they used to build the Ark.
God, I don't love anything that much.
No, so you have to actually pay a little bit extra to work there.
Yeah, I don't possess that kind of cognitive dissonance. I don't think.
No.
What was your general impression of the crowd there?
At the protest or at the people going to the Ark?
The people going to the Ark. I mean, the protest people, it'd probably be the same kind of setup, I would assume. I don't know. I guess Westboro Baptist wasn't there, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, no, a lot of the people going to the Ark they looked like Mennonites. They were all, the girls in bonnets, church vans with very sad-looking kids in the back seat. But just think lots of long denim skirts and not much body part showing.
I think Tracy Moody posted a picture like buns everywhere.
Yeah, she did. And it was very accurate. When they played it on the news that night, they were showing the crowds, and it was just, it looked like Amish people wandering around if they could have taken their carts and buggies there.
I was curious to think, I know that where the protest was set up on, I guess, our side, the police were there, and it was was it completely amicable as far as was there any issue from government officials or anything like that there?
The only issue we had was porta potties.
Oh.
So the porta potty company that had been paid for and contract signed showed up at 8:00 that morning. The guy asked what he was setting it up for, and the lady that was running it told him honestly, this is the Ark Encounter protest, and he said, "Oh, I'm not okay with that," and he got back in his truck and drove off.
That's not how contracts work.
And so they called another porta potty company and said, "Could you bring some porta potties down here?" And they said, "Of course." And they, on their way, called and asked, "Is this the Ark Encounter protest?" And they said yes. And they said, "No, I'm not going to support that. If people around here saw my business name associated with that, they'd never give me business again."
And that is fair. I can't fault the man for that. This is Kentucky.
Yeah, it is Kentucky. But so yeah, we had no porta potties on site, but we made do. We figured out a way to get to a bathroom. But other than that, no, the cops, there was a huge police presence. State troopers were out of their car and walking around our protest zone. So they were, because we pretty much approached them when Eric showed up to kind of see what the legal limits to what he could do was, because he was really trying to get in our faces and block all of our signs. And so they kind of came and walked around the entire time. And then they were just directing traffic. They kind of showed up, I think, to direct traffic more or less for the Ark Encounter, but there wasn't really any traffic. So they sort of ended up standing around and yelling at cars that slowed down to look at our signs. And that was about all they did.
Easy paycheck.
Yep. Probably the most action they've seen in a long time in northern Kentucky.
Shit, no, that's meth town, dude.
Oh, is it?
That's probably the best action they've seen in a long time. All of Kentucky's meth town.
I didn't know Kentucky had a meth problem.
Every state in the South has a meth problem,
Yeah.
and that's not even hyperbole. I mean, seriously, meth is plentiful here. Actually, prescription drugs and have kind of replaced meth, but yeah, anywhere near the mountains, and like I think you guys were near Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, we were right outside Cincinnati.
Yeah, guarantee you there's a meth problem. Just, I don't know. I'm biased. I live in Tennessee. We're way better than Kentucky is. So that's not the thing. How you were there for what? I think you flew in Friday morning.
I flew in
Thursday?
Wednesday morning. Protest was on Thursday.
That's
I flew
right.
in Wednesday
Thursday.
night. Protest was on Thursday, and then I flew out Friday morning.
Did you guys catch any static from like, I want to say just normal people? I mean, or did people actually have questions, or did you guys kind of like have any Q&As with Christians that weren't like there to protest?
So for the most part, everyone was driving by and honking and waving at us. So most cars seemed to be on board. All the signs there dealt with the tax problem. So it was, your tax dollars are paying for this myth and things like that. So people seem to kind of react to not wanting their tax money going to it. So we're getting lots of honks and thumbs up. And then other than Eric being there, a couple people pulled over and got out and came and tried to debate us. And a couple of them even had signs in their trunks ready to go. Like one guy had one that said like proof of God, DNA exists.
Okay.
And he actually, so on Twitter when you debate a theist and they think they've won and they say checkmate.
Mm-hmm.
I've now seen this in person because an old guy kept yelling at Aaron Ra, and every time he'd say something, he'd go checkmate. So every time he thought he had made a point that Aaron couldn't beat, he just yelled checkmate.
It's the pigeon analogy in real life.
Yeah, and then another guy came. There was a guy that was with us, and he was waving a giant American flag the entire time, and some guy got out and started yelling at him for having an American flag and being an atheist.
What the?
Yeah.
Okay.
He started yelling about our founding fathers and the Christian nation or something, and he ended up yelling for a few minutes and leaving. But honestly, other than a couple boos from people driving by, it was just honking and waving and lots of support. I mean, we had almost 150 people there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is huge for just an atheist debate, atheist get together in general, let alone just a protest on a freeway off ramp.
Yeah, I don't think we had the NanoCon here in Nashville a few weeks ago, the National Nuns Convention, our first one, and there might not have been 150 atheists.
Yeah, it's hard to get them all together, but for something like this, I think Tri-State Freethinkers really did a great job of organizing it and getting it together. And then, I mean, pulling all of us that have kind of been covering it nationally, and David Silverman, all that really sort of became a big draw. And that also drew the media out big time.
Yeah, Jim's really good with the media up there.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And, the thing is that even a lot of them were leaving the Ark and saw us and came by and stopped. And so, I mean, the big win for the entire weekend was the fact that we changed the entire story. So not a single story ran that just said Ark Encounter opened. Every story that ran was Ark Encounter opened under protest, or atheist group protest opening of Ark Encounter. And so we managed to push our way into every single story. And I mean, that just had to get under Ham's skin, but it just means it went everywhere in Kentucky. Not a news station in Kentucky missed that we were there.
It's fantastic. I love it. I do enjoy it. One question when we had you on, 40 some odd episodes ago, the governor at the time had vetoed the thing, but they had a new conservative governor, right? And that's where they got the tax break.
Matt Bevin, yep.
It's okay. I knew that there had been a change.
Yeah. So basically, the lawsuit and the court case all started while Steve Brashear was their governor, and he was the Democrat that he was for the park being built. He thought the park was a great idea. He thought people in Kentucky would love it, but he said no tax money because of their message and their discrimination. And the judge heard the case and then waited something like 6 months to issue his ruling. And he issued it after Steve Bevin had won the election, and he is a Tea Party governor. And they issued the ruling, and he said he was not going to appeal it. And then when they pushed the paperwork through to the Tourism Tax Board, they were still very much against it, the entire board. So he fired the entire board and hired all new people on the board, and they passed it unanimously.
I love people so much.
Yeah, so he worked extra hard to make sure that they got, and they're technically not eligible for $18 million because the Hovind research group report that was to look at how many visitors they'd get was drastically lower than AIG's papers. AIG said they'd get 2 million visitors, and that's why they qualified for 18 million. But Hovind research said they'd only get 325,000, and so they should have gotten approved for a lot less. But Bevin's new tourism board used AIG's own numbers. So they ignored the report they paid for and just did whatever Ken Ham said.
Your tax dollars hard at work, Kentucky.
Yeah. Kentucky just is throwing as much tax money as they can. I mean, they're throwing somewhere around $100 million at this thing.
That is...
I mean, with the grants that they've given to the land, they gave them $100,000 towards the land, plus $64 million in grants. That's what the employees are paying back. But in 2 years, if this thing shuts down, taxpayers are on the hook for the rest of that money. So unless this thing's open long enough to pay back $64 million through employee paychecks, that state's never getting that back.
That's and part of me is like, well, I hope it stays open just so the people of Kentucky don't suffer. But the other part of me is like, fuck those guys.
Yeah, I think they'd be better off if it closed, even if they were out that money.
I agree. I totally agree.
The kids would be better off.
No, I mean, we rode dinosaurs. That's what I was. The Flintstones is a documentary. It's not actually a cartoon.
Well, David Smalley walked through it, and he said that, he's going through and laughing and having a great time, thinking like this is ridiculous. And then he said he got to the end, and it is basically just a children's bookstore, and it's all books to children saying, this is, these are science books about Noah's Ark, and like children's stories about the Ark, and books that discredit the other Arks, all the other Ark stories that exist, and why this one happens to be true.
So the one they stole from
Sumerians. Yeah. This isn't the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's something totally different.
No, it's nothing like that at all.
But that's when David said it got really real, and he actually got really sad that parents are going to bring their kids through that, and then they're going to go to this bookstore and get bought these books that say on it that they're scientifically accurate and things like that. And that's what he realized. It wasn't a joke.
It's indoctrination at its finest. Yep. Well, that's depressing. Thanks, Dan. No, but I do appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you. As soon as I heard you were going out there, I was like, man, I hope we get you back on the show.
Of course.
Glad you said yes. Well, I appreciate it. Have ice down your knees from hockey, and have a good night.
You do the
same.
Coming on. Yeah, anytime.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Bye.
And just a quick follow-up to this wonderful interview that we had this week with Dan Arel and his firsthand experience and just overall adventure dealing with the Ark Park and Ken Ham and all of the kind of fun stuff that goes with it. You can read more at the Pathos website. His blog is called Danthropology. That is Danthropology. Also, he has a new book coming out soon. You might want to check it out. It's called The Secular Activist. Should be out on October 1st. I imagine he'll have that on Amazon.com and have more information available as well on his blog, Danthropology. Again, Dan, thanks for coming on.
Sparkling drinks are just dandy, the chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Alton Sterling and Philando Castillo are two names that are currently, for whatever reason, living in infamy in pop culture right now. I mean, not for whatever reason they were shot, but it's infamous because it's created this dichotomy between Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, and I think that we just need to recognize that there's a problem. It's not us versus them. It's not black people versus white people. There's a problem between people and law enforcement, I think. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, I'm gonna let her go into this.
Her? I am now her.
Yeah, go for it, Kate.
Her? Oh, it's
Her.
because I'm going into beast mode, isn't it?
Yeah, go into beast mode. I know it's coming. Go. I'll add my segment on afterwards.
Well, yeah. So again, here we are. This is Black Lives Matter.
All right, and I do want to back up and emphasize this is year number 2 or 3 of Black Lives Matter.
Oh, this is year number 3.
Yeah, this is year 3. Okay,
and that's something I want to bring up. I think there's a false narrative in the media right now about Black Lives Matter, and part of it is fueling white against black perspective, or everybody against black perspective, because the way they're not really appropriately explaining what Black Lives Matter is, what it represents, what it's all about. They're also acting like Black Lives Matter is just now getting involved into the general public. This is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Black Lives Matter came about after Trayvon Martin's death. Shortly thereafter, they were part of what is called BOLD, and I believe that it's something along the lines of, what is it? It's Black Organizing something leadership. But it's a very important group, and these people trained the now leaders of Black Lives Matters. These are, organizers, social activists, and they're just trying to get you to understand Black Lives Matter. And sometimes I think folks need to hear Black Lives Matter too. T-O-O. And maybe then they kind of get it. But when you hear all lives matter, like folks have been saying, I think they're missing the message. Of course, all lives matter. I think we all agree. But sometimes people show favoritism towards certain members of the All Lives Matter group. Namely, those who are WASP, white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant.
I was about to say, WASPs don't have guns pulled on them simply for existing. They're not pulled over because of the color of their skin.
Not usually, though class can play into it. If you live in a bad neighborhood, you're driving a beat-up car, if you're around a known area that has drugs, like I live in an area, I've got drug houses all around me. Yes, I am watched more, I am profiled more, but do I get pulled over? Hardly fucking ever. I can't even tell you how many times I've been pulled over. Like, hardly ever. And that's the thing. But if you're in certain areas and you also have black skin or some other minority skin, like if you live in Arizona, if you're Native American, you've got some serious fucking problems out there.
Well, fuck, I live outside of Davidson County, and I drive into Davidson County just to go get some bud.
Yeah, but you would then be part of that socioeconomic group, or you would appear to be part of that socioeconomic group that is profiled more often.
Yeah, I agree.
But your white skin saves you from getting pulled over usually.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there is a total... When people go around and tell me there's no white privilege, I'm like, whatever.
Oh, I know. We know that's bullshit.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
And that's the thing. Black Lives Matter is not saying our lives are more important. They're saying we are not being treated equally in importance.
Not in any shape, form, or fashion.
This is trying to get people to understand. And you'll have people, even at my job, I have coworkers, that are just like, oh, well, this all lives matter thing, it's, we all matter. And it's like, that's not what they're trying to say. And I break it down. I said, does it make more sense if I say Black Lives Matter too? Light bulb goes off. I'm not saying Black Lives Matter's got it wrong. I just think that sometimes you have to put on that extra word for people to get it sometimes and for them to understand. But there's like tons more types of racism. And, we've got cognitive biases that we're not even aware of. There's to be something I'm going to be posting later tonight that I was saying, sometimes when you have to write the truth, it really fucking sucks. It's horrible when you look back at it and you start to realize and evaluate yourself. And we all have biases. And right now, the biggest bias that people are trying to get you to recognize is that there's a huge bias against those who are black, even by their own community members.
Yeah, I can see that too, but I just think that the media is inflaming the race issue about it.
Well, it is a race issue, though. It's not inflaming
but the
it.
media is inflaming it to no end.
They're disproportionately representing it. It's like when they say, oh, well, these folks are just now showing up because of the death. I mean, I literally listened to a news report today, and it said, oh, Black Lives Matter spurred on and brought to the forefront to do a protest because of the deaths of Philando Castillo and Alton Sterling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. These guys have been in the forefront for 3 years now.
Yeah, that's what I was getting about.
Not
how long this
not
has
just
been
because
happening.
people are killed. They're out there every day because of people being jailed unfairly. You have people who are getting 20 years in prison for pot in their pocket who are black, and the next person defended in front of the judge who's white, same crime, 6 months probation. These folks are out there for more than just because police are shooting, folks under horrible circumstances, which we've really got to take a microscope to, and we will be discussing that in the next segment, as you know. But it's at Black Lives Matter and a lot of these other groups. They're not just coming to the forefront because police killed black men. Slow down, relax, deep breaths. They buy into this dialogue of, oh, these people are just now coming out.
Deep breaths.
This black guy was shot. Relax. And that's not the case. And I think that's what the narrative people are missing, is that there's a larger narrative than just people being, shot by police. There's a much larger narrative.
Take 5, honey. Take 5.
I'm going to edit you out.
Just take 5. Take 5. Here's what we got to understand. As far as black people go, all of us are white. We can't understand or even comprehend what they're going through. But there is a more obvious statement, whatever, there's all these cameras out there and all this information that's going along. And it seems more often than not that black people are being profiled.
I would have to make a slight alteration.
Oh, you're in Georgia.
Statement.
Shut up.
No.
I'm trying
just
to talk.
listen to me.
Let her have her piece. Breathe, Adam.
Go for it.
Breathe.
Go for it.
I think that we would have to amend the statement to say that black men in low socioeconomic areas and statuses are targeted more frequently and more unfairly than even black women of low socioeconomic statuses. Just think back from Trayvon Martin to Philando Castillo. How many black women have been at the end of the gun barrel? It's mainly black men
who are shot. When it comes to being beat up and viciously attacked, it knows no bounds. And I hate to break this to you, whether you are a well-off black American, like middle class, or you're impoverished, they're seeing just as frequent of a problem.
I'm sick of this. I am sick of this being put off on the police. I really am. The police have to deal with the fact that there's not enough health care to even maintain the mental health stability of society. If you've got a mental health problem, you're basically thrown into the street, and then the police have to deal with you. And you don't know what you're dealing with.
Definitely not only a police problem. My brother, who I am 3/4 estranged from right now, he speaks to me, but only because he has to convey information. Pretty much hates my guts because I believe that Black Lives Matter. He would pay money to see a black man lynched for entertainment. He would enjoy it. He will tell you these things.
Yeah, I understand
I think
that.
It's people
and
like
I
that
hang
as
out
well.
with those people too. They're always all around, but there's still plenty of other good people too who understand that's just not a good thing.
Well, I think that's part of the problem too, because black people,
the media is desensitizing race. That's just all there is to it.
No, I don't
seems
think
more
that
often than not that the black people are causing the problems in this country. No,
I don't think they're they're de-escalating the fact that race is a problem. I think that they magnify it in the wrong way. They put the wrong lens in the camera whenever they look at it.
Right.
That's what I think. I think they look at it from the point of view that it's not because this person was black that this happened. It was because of the choices they made. And it was not Trayvon Martin's fault that he was shot because of the choices he made. It was his.
Well, all the circumstances about somebody bringing out a gun and doing something are completely different. Trayvon Martin, that was a completely different scenario. Here we have in Dallas a guy who grabbed a rifle and went around cops outside of a Black Lives Movement and started shooting at white police officers. They're all, you can't compare that to a Trayvon Martin moment.
No, you can't. But
that's the other side of the coin we'll discuss in the next segment. I do want to kind of roll back, though. I'm confused on the statement about police and insurance and mental health care. Are we talking about mental health care for the police officers?
No, just for people in general. I mean, when a cop walks up in any situation, there's a large factor that the person that they're dealing with has a mental health issue.
Okay, I have to say I don't agree with throwing the mentally ill under the bus.
No. I'm not throwing the mentally ill under the bus. I'm just saying that there's not enough care for that in itself. But
what does that have to do with the situation? Let me give you this perspective. Hear me out real quick. Just hear me this out. This is what I think is the problem. When a police officer approaches a vehicle, they don't know the situation that they're coming up on other than tag wasn't right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to put the mentally ill under the bus. I'm just saying that's a factor in the situation that they have to deal with because even they can't get the proper care.
I want to flip the switch though on this because I really think it's more so the mental health of not just the person in the car, but that of the officer, what he's trained. Everything is a battle the way these officers are trained now. They're
totally
prepared for war zones. They're being militarized in the brain to deal with a non-militarized public.
A lot of them are ex-military.
Let me finish.
A lot of them are ex-military.
Let me finish, though. So, if you are black in a car, police officers walking up, both individuals don't know what to expect. You've got alcohol in the car, but you haven't been drinking. But you know these are going to cost you money, potentially freedom. These kind of ridiculously and totally not equally applied laws. These are not fair the way these laws are applied in this country, let alone the expectation. I'm sorry. They should not be thinking my life is ruined. I'm going to go to jail for 2 years, lose my wife, my job, my kids. They should not have these fears running through their head when those cops' lights are flashing behind you, pulling you over for a taillight that makes you act out of panic.
I'm not disagreeing against you at all. In the back of my head, it's going like, oh, hallelujah.
That is institutionalized fear. Thanks to the way our legislature is run in this country and the way our policing works and the way our justice system works. This is a systemic failure that causes these situations we are seeing today. I have people going, oh, well, so-and-so, he had a concealed carry. I don't fucking care if he did or not. If he did not offer to shoot that officer, if he told the officer he had that gun, there was no reason for this man to die. I look at this and I don't really think it's mental illness when it comes to these general stops and the mentality that officers encounter.
I'm not saying it's simply because of mental illness. It's just a factor that they have to deal with because nobody wants to take care of them.
Don't make up that much of these stops. Mentally ill barely make up 10% of
but all I'm talking about is the outside factors of just doing their job. You don't know what they have to deal with. You don't know if they're mentally ill. You don't know if they're extremists that are planning to do the next Boston Marathon stuff. You just don't know. As an officer,
exactly, they are programmed to expect a war, and that is the problem.
Yeah, it is.
They are programmed to react.
The police
not
are trained
interact.
to not trust the citizen. That's all there is to it.
Okay, and I have a situation that I think can parallel this that might make you understand, I think, where Kate's coming from, what I understand. As a teacher, we now have to go into training every year what to do if there's a shooter at school, if there's somebody with malicious intent at school, whether it's a knife, a gun, a fist fight, kidnapping. We have to, encompass all those things. If we encounter a parent at school who comes in and doesn't go to the office and check in and get a name badge, we automatically have to engage that person. That is the first line of defense, and we have to find out what's going on. I don't have the ability to arrest them. There's not the possibility that they're going to end up in jail from the encounter that they have with me. However, it has caused many situations to escalate to the point of a teacher, getting hurt. It's also happened that the superintendent, there was a new teacher who didn't know what the superintendent would look like, and she was walking around the school, and she stopped her and escorted her to the office. So, as a teacher, I encounter those same things, those same feelings, but I'm not allowed to just react and punch that person in the face because they don't have a name tag and they might be there to shoot us up.
Yeah, and then you add on top of that the different types of profiles.
Right.
To look for, to be aware of. And officers, I'm sorry, they're confronted with statistics. It's just like if you're a soldier going into Afghanistan, they're going to show you your potential enemy. They're going to show you what this enemy can and will do to you. Okay? They do that to these police officers with certain types of civilians on the street. A drug dealer is still a civilian at the end of the day. The problem is they are not treating them that way, and they're giving them profiles to look for that fit that profile. It causes a bias. And then when you are black and you work in these police stations, you are doubly pressured to also show that you're not going to show favoritism. So you come down even harder. It's horrendous. It's a vicious cycle at the end of the day.
I was just going to say, as far as being a teacher goes and having to do these profiles is what we'll call them, socioeconomic status definitely plays into what we have to look for. I'm fortunate to work at a school system or in a school system in a predominantly well-off area, socioeconomically speaking. I work in a high-income area. I personally am not high-income, but I do work in the area. But if we have, some sketchy dude come walking in a do-rag and shaggy clothes, we automatically
You're profiling already.
We are.
Yeah, sketchy. Because that's what they are programmed to look for. And that's what I'm saying. When an officer approaches a car, there's already a situation because of the way they have been trained. They are trained to react, not interact. And then you have the person in the car. We don't know.
Which I back up to my point on the person might being possibly mentally ill. That is your worst case scenario. You don't understand.
No, it's not. We do not need a society that is going to have these types of fears programmed to people for violating laws over little things. And then on top of that, keep them in. So what if this guy gets 2 years probation, then the next minor offense he's pulled over for a taillight? Well, I'm sorry, sir. That's an additional fine. And because you lost your job from the last one, now we can keep bringing you into jail every weekend, and you have to pay this off. It's a nonstop.
Process.
And they program people to look for this stuff. Okay?
All right, chill.
Everybody one of the
chill.
biggest problems.
Okay, chill. But you proved a really, really good point right there. You just don't know what people are going to do, even if they're not mentally ill, how they're going to react out of desperation after being caught up in the society that they're in.
It's desperation to begin with because of the consequences of not just the law you might have potentially broken, but just the fact that you are a certain color and part of a certain society. You are already facing loss.
Well, I just have to speak up for the mentally ill.
Please.
Because I've had a really bad week. I ran out of medicine and I ran out of money, and that's not a good combination, just so you know. And I have been in a very, very, very bad place for the last 7 days. And I can say, in the darkest, deepest hole I was in, I knew not to shoot a police officer if he came to my house. I knew not to run them over in the car. I knew how to behave. Mental illness is not an excuse.
No, it's not. I'm not going that direction.
It's a factor, but it's so small, it shouldn't be the first one out of your lips. I'm sorry, it's just my point of view.
But you need to understand, we have a lot of ex-military that are back in this country. You've got to understand, there's people that are back in this country who have been in war zones and combats, and the minute a firecracker goes off behind them, they're going to reach in for their pocket knife and try to defend themselves.
No, Sharon and I live with people like that right now. Don't we, Sharon?
Yeah, my husband can't stand firecrackers. It sends him
That's
into
what I'm saying. And
a horrible
that sets
place.
The person off.
But
would he hurt somebody,
no,
Sharon?
No, he would not hurt somebody.
He'd hurt himself first, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
That's who they're more likely to hurt is themselves, not those around them. That's a fact, statistically proven.
Well, this is a conversation people need to have because people don't know about mental health issues.
Or the perspective that the media is giving it.
Yeah. Well, the media is not even putting that into perspective. They're putting it a black on white thing.
But that's the thing, though. It's not mentally ill people.
No, it's not. I'm not trying to say mentally ill people are a problem, or there's people that just need fucking help. They need help. They need the proper help, and we're not giving it to them. Well, in some circumstances, god damn, it is, all this shit ties together. It's ridiculous.
Like I said, bottom line, I really feel it comes down to the mental health of the cop and how he's been trained, and the person at the other side of that wheel.
And no matter how scared you are, you don't need a gun, which police have. But what I'm saying is, people have debated the fact that teachers should have guns because of all the shootings that have happened in schools. I think it's a horrible idea because...
Same here.
The first thing that would happen would a kid would be shot or a kid would shoot somebody. But I can tell you, the fear of having to walk up to somebody that you don't know their intentions and you don't know why they're there, a gun is not the thing to have. And I think, I don't know, I think maybe that's the first place we need to start, is by making sure people who have weapons are qualified to have weapons and not just give any Joe Blow that comes in off the street and goes to police academy a weapon.
I would back up and say this. I would support a educator having a firearm as long as it could be put down scientifically, that their fingerprint could match, and before the gun fired, something of that magnitude that science could catch up with. But as far as having a gun around kids, it's just a bad damn idea.
Well, what I'm saying is, I think that the person's skin color, coupled with their socioeconomic status, coupled with an officer who already has some level of fear in his gut because of the two things that I just said, may not necessarily need a gun, because that's where the problem starts.
So we've been talking about Black Lives Matters, protests all around the country. I'm sure a lot of you know, from St. Paul to New York, even London, there's been all types of rallies and protests with Black Lives Matters and other, organizational groups for empowering the black minority in this country. Unfortunately, in Dallas, which, from what I've heard, was one place that was actually making progress with being interaction with citizens and not all reaction, they had a sniper go through. Did y'all hear about it?
Yes, I heard about it. It was horrible.
Yeah, I think all said and done, 5 killed and 6 more injured. And that was including people in the crowd.
And what is really sad about the whole thing is the country has become desensitized to what would be small numbers of people being killed, unless it's something on the scale of Pulse or Sandy Hook. To me, it seems like it doesn't get the media attention it should. That's just my opinion.
What do you think, Ed?
The NRA, the people who bear guns in the country, pretty much every damn person below the Mason-Dixon line believes that they need to have a gun for tyranny. And I don't think that's a fact. I think we need a gun to go hunt deer and shoot a turkey from now and then. But what I don't like is their aspect of, and they've been preaching this for a while, that you need this gun to keep your government in check. Well, here it is. It happened. Kaboom. Pow. Where did you think it was going to start at? Did you think it was going to start at the White House? No, it's going to start with police, and it's going to start with the National Guard, and then it would move up through governments until we had a big enough band of people to take on the country, but that's how it's going to start out. And I really don't think people understood that.
So you recognize with the Dallas Sniper, it's like a political radicalization of the general public.
Absolutely. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. We see, more often than not. And I love the cops. I respect them down to the whole. But at the same time, there's been some upper overreach, and the law supports them in that factor. I don't like it. And I support a peaceful movement at first, but it's been peaceful for 3 fucking years. This is a part of the lobbyists that control this country. It's the NRA, it's the gun rights groups. I really don't think that they were expecting it to go to this angle, but this is exactly what's happened. People are fed up, a certain group of people, with the government and how they're being treated, and they're rising up and taking their guns and taking action against tyranny, and white people don't like it.
My problem, though, is the tyranny that was shot and killed in Dallas. From what they claim so far in the media, this is Micah Johnson, 6-year Army Reservist veteran. They actually had to use a robot to take him out with some C4, which is amazing. The people he was targeting was kind of like how I guess he felt his own race was being targeted. He's a black man, and he decided he was going to take out white cops, regardless of whether they had committed a crime or not. And he basically perpetrated the same thing that he finds unjust. And I don't know if he was aware of the irony in that or the misguided nature of that.
Yeah, and the media is trying to displace plenty of things off on this. But when you step back from a whole, this is a group of Americans who are upset with how they're being treated. And I back them on that. But at the same time, I'm trying to not condone the violence. It's really hard for me as an American that I love this country and I love what it's about, but we are at a major conflict that's been going on for years, the past 3 years, where we see time and time again that more often than not, black people are being shot with no repercussions, and just a lack of training. I don't know where to go with it.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. This is something I thought about. What is your first encounter with police brutality? Whether it was on the news or you personally, when was your first encounter with police brutality?
I've never experienced it.
I haven't personally experienced.
Even it's in the news. I'm talking about your first encounter with it, whether it's by news, reading about it.
Oh,
okay.
That's
first encounter.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty much the first time I watched the news, at maybe 4 or 5 years old, I probably saw some shit about that.
But which one sticks out in your mind? Any of them?
I'm fortunate enough to say that I haven't been witness to any police brutality personally or on the news. I've heard reports of it, but none of it particularly sticks out of my mind, and I think that's my white privilege. I think that I'm wrong for that. Yeah.
My first vivid memory of understanding and recognizing police brutality was the Rodney King beating in 1991 on the news. That's my first. I remember that video vividly. But there was a problem when I was watching that video in 1991. I was roughly 14 years old, I think. Yeah, 14. I just dated myself. Yeah, guys, I'm 39. I didn't recognize that this guy was black. It didn't even occur to me. And it took me 5 years after that to go, oh shit, I was seeing the world as one color still at 14. That's how sheltered I was brought up. Then you see instances, and I think this kind of speaks to how long this has been going on. Because look how colorblind we were to the news. Like, no major incidents have really stuck out in your mind until, what, the last maybe 5-10 years? Or Trayvon, maybe? That's how long this has been going on. It hasn't quit. The media, even during Martin Luther King's marches and that, even to that time period, the media has still been doing this. Our parents have still been sheltering us. Our schools have still been protecting us from the reality of, oh no, this is just a man being unjustly beaten. They're leaving the race factor out of it on purpose, keeping us blind for that long.
I see that. That's exactly what you're saying with that.
Okay. I mean, it took me 5 years after seeing Rodney King being beaten in the street for me to pick up on there's a problem here, because this is obviously racially motivated, because I started seeing other instances. And I think then you see
I had a
like
conversation. All right, I'm gonna ask you back off, and I'll pass you your. I love you.
Shithead.
Anyway, I was having a conversation today with my neighbor Christian lady at work, and she was bringing up some of the same aspects. Well, the Columbine was really the first mass shooting you ever saw, and I was like, yeah, no, well, maybe not. I mean, there was a guy in Texas on a gun tower who took out pretty much as many people back in the 60s.
The Bell shooting.
Yeah. He was ex-military, just like the guy that just happened to do this in Dallas. And here's what I don't like. The news is portraying, they are playing out his history, his everything and whatnot, and that he wasn't a major, his role in the military wasn't using a rifle. But at the same time, he was ambushing cops on the TV screen.
He served 7 months in Afghanistan. Okay.
Yeah, he did. But as far as what the media was playing out was that he wasn't on the front lines. But what he was showing in those videos was exactly what the frontline guys do. They ambush their target. I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like a tinfoil hat dude. It's just weird to me. The whole thing seems off. He didn't have a criminal record. He didn't have a problem. He wasn't even on anybody's radar for, basically anything. And he just went off.
Yeah, he was fed up. And he
was damn good about it. And he knew exactly what he was doing. And it took some damn killer, God, what's the Terminator robots to come in and take him out. Now, that's a new thing all in itself. Well, the Americans have been dropping bombs from remote-controlled airplanes all over the world for the last, 10 years now? I guess a suspected Islamic extremist. But now we're finally using robots to go in and take out a person tactically.
Yeah, it took them long enough to get them here. It took them long enough to get them over here. They've actually been using those over in the Iraq-Afghanistan war for a while now.
Yeah, I know they've been using here, but they haven't been using them with Hellfire missiles attached to them.
That's true.
But this is a different scenario. It's still another robot, and they're going in and taking out a threat, which is a whole nother story in itself. Yeah,
but it still brings about the question. So he took out a kind of justice in his own mind, obviously. I think he really felt eye for an eye. I feel like he went Hammurabi, right. Which I can't agree with Hammurabi. I really cannot. I don't think he killed people who were innocent. And yes, you can go, well, police kill, blah, blah, and that's true. But at the same time, there's a justice system for that. Granted, a broken one. And I don't know how the hell we're going to fix it. Maybe this will bring light to fixing it. I don't know. But this sparked other assaults in other states since then. We saw 21 officers injured in St. Paul, Minnesota, 102 protesters arrested. Baton Rouge had hundreds arrested as well. It's getting intense. And we see the disconnect where the media is really seeming to pit one against the other when we should be embracing both.
I understand. But we've become so damn desensitized with it that this is when I go into my hippie mode. Everybody be fucking nice to one another out there.
I know, but I think too that our nation, as a nation, has a responsibility for some of the things that are happening now. I mean, you can't raise a child and feed them the Constitution, you have the right to bear arms, all their lives, and when they grow up and they try to use the right that you've fed them all their lives, then you get mad. So it's like we create these criminals and then we have to kill them. We have to, you're given this right whenever you're born as an American, but nobody tells you how to use it. Nobody tells you. There's no instruction manual that says this is how you use this right. People who are frustrated think, hey, I have the right to bear arms, so I'm going to bear arms, and they go out and they kill everybody. So I think the nation holds some responsibility for creating this problem. I think we need to amend the Constitution and not feed kids from the time that they're born, you have the right to bear arms.
We have to quit also promoting the idea of the lesser as well. We really do. You saw what happened in the Civil War. Slaves were set free, supposedly. You see, though, they didn't have any rights. you need to meet this standard of social economic status, but at the same time, we're not going to afford you the same opportunities. When you have purposeful oppression, what's going to happen? People have to start looking at this and see how they continue to contribute to it. It's a frustrating thing to sit there, and I look at my friend with his son, and I'm just like, I'm sad, and at the same time, I'm frustrated because it's just like, how do I help? And I think a lot of people are scared to just say, how do I help? I'm afraid for you. How do I help?
Well, it sucks because I think and I hope this is coming true for a lot of people, is that no matter what the circumstances are or what's going on, there's a huge group, not just a small group of people. Even if it was a small group, it wouldn't matter. They're having to go in and explain to their kids to be careful of the police.
And as a person of privilege, because I'm a WASP, I think that it's a difficult conversation to have with a person of color to say, what can I do to help? Because you are admitting that you are at fault for something. And to me, I've had one time when I tried to do that, and the person took offense to it. And it scares me, and I don't want to do that again. I don't want to be put in that situation. The person was like, why do you think you're better than me? Why do you think I need your help? Because I'm black? I think it's a hard position to be in, and we need dialogue.
And that's why you got to get with your local community groups, because there's activist groups that'll actually help you better understand and comprehend how you can play a role, how you actively play a role today, how, we all have that unconscious bias and conscious bias.
Yeah, and I understand where all this is going, but at the same time, I still understand why they're getting violent with it. They're fucking frustrated. They're doing what they got to do. They're at their end rope as far as trying to create that dialogue. Being silent is walking hand in foot with being compliant with how the situation is. There's no denying that whatsoever. There's been time after time police overreach, and more often than not, it seems, against black people, and the consequences are deadly, and it needs to fucking stop. And it's not because Black Lives Matter. It's because every fucking life should matter. And I don't even want to go into every life. It's just people matter. We're human,
But right now, Black lives really matter. Because
well, I've got to stand behind it because I got to support lives in general.
I think it's a conversation that's going to be hard to have, that we need to have. And I don't want Black Lives Matter to become this wall that black people stand behind, and I don't want all lives matter to become this wall that white people stand behind, because then there's no conversation. We've got to come to realize that everybody, there's no one who's superior to the other. And right now the problem exists that black people are being targeted more than white people, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to discuss that.
That's why their lives matter right now. They are not equal with the rest.
That's
right, but
cause,
I don't want it to become a wall that people stand behind, like I want to say Jim Crow did in the 60s. White people stood behind Jim Crow laws to make themselves look better.
Right now it is a separate wall because it's not on the same equal level as everybody else. We have to join that wall and patch it in with ours.
Right.
That's why Black Lives Matter right now, because they are not equal. They are separate. They are the other. They are the lesser. And we have to patch them up and bring them up with us. We have to allow them.
Hey, maybe on the next episode, we could bring some black people in on this. Do we know any?
Yes.
Seriously?
I think we know some black people.
Hey, yeah, I may know a few. But still, it's a conversation that needs to continue.
You know what I would like to see us discuss? I would like to see us discuss Black Lives Matter with someone like my brother. It couldn't be my brother because he's too pig-headed, and most people who believe the way he does are pig-headed. But I wish we could have a discussion with somebody who believes that way, that we could possibly explain things to. And yeah. I think it would be amazing to be the catalyst for somebody to think in a different way.
Well, you better think about it long and hard, because it's more like counseling. It's not a one-time sit-down conversation.
I know. I'm just saying. I wish it was.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it isn't. It's a generational programming, and unfortunately, it's within our government system and our legislation. It's in the way we train our civil servants. Yeah,
and that's what I mean by the nation creates this problem and then punishes the people who it created. I think it's just a crazy situation.
I mean, but the problem is, though, that's making an assumption, though. They're punishing people that haven't even done anything wrong, other than their color.
Right. But I didn't mean to make the assumption that that they had done something wrong. I'm saying that people make, these cognitive biases that we're aware of and unaware of are being put into legislation and into workers, like you said, and it's not being dealt with. So we're creating a problem that we're not dealing with.
Well, it's something to think on this week.
Well, it's a good place for us to stop.
America!
Now please bow your heads for the new atheist prayer. To the mortally created Father in heaven, I decided to forego your name. Your kingdom was false. Your will was non-existent on earth and even in the stories I heard of heaven. Every day I earn my family's bread. I work hard to have my wrongs forgiven, and hope I am shown compassion in return, as I show to everyone that has wronged me. I no longer let your promises lead me into irrational decisions, as I understand I only have myself to blame. Ramen.